This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Hallig Petrus. But before that, this video is brought to you by Evil Reg and Greg Musin. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Hallig Petrus map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Let's read a little bit of the description. Good morning. Welcome to Hallig Petrus Islands. Please read thoroughly everything to rule out any questions. Important, you can expect the ebb and flow here, and once a year, the so-called land under. So the ebb and flow is the in and out tides, the high and low tides. This map does have a movable water plane. The ebb and flow occurs every day. The times are low tide from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. till midnight. High tide is noon to 6 p.m. and midnight until 6 a.m. And it is going to take approximately 20 minutes of real time for those water levels to change. And we will see later on in the video, I've time-lapsed the rising of low tide to high tide. It's an approximation. I recorded 20 minutes worth of real-time video as the water plane was increasing. So it may or may not be basically at that level when high tide finishes, but it's close enough to demonstrate how this all works. So watch your vehicles and don't drive them into the deep water. For technical reasons, there is no running noises or swimming noises as long as the water is actively rising and falling. Furthermore, in October, the so-called land comes under a storm surge and is designed so that the storm surge occurs every day in October. The times for this are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is important that the storm surge does not cause any damage to crops or animals or vehicles and only serves to represent the local conditions on the island. There is a hint here that says save your work on the terp for October and harvest your fields in time. So I think what this is saying is save your work on the mainland for October because you need to basically get all your crops on the island harvested before October because the entire island is going to flood in October every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But it's not going to actually damage crops other than the fact you're not going to be able to do any field work during those time frames. That's my assumption. This map has two versions, a standard version, which is what we're going to be looking at today, and a second version, which has adapted feeding where you can offer different feed to your animals. But in this adapted version, the animals are going to require all of the food groups in order to have good health. So basically, they all become parallel eaters and that they're going to eat out of all of the food troughs. Therefore, if they don't have food in all of the troughs, well, they're not going to maximize their health and therefore they're not going to reproduce. You can choose whether you want to earn your money from farming or renting out a holiday farm area. So I'll talk to you about that when we get into the map. This map includes 6 playable farms, and we'll talk about those once again when we get into the map. There are 63 fields, 49 farmlands, 14 meadows, and 2 forests. The size of the fields range from 0.11 hectares to 6.26 hectares for a total of 91.56 hectares available, 78.27 in arable land, and 13.29 in meadows. The sale prices for cows and pigs have been increased. There are collectibles, and there is a wanted board at the harbor with information. We'll look for that later. I looked for it earlier and I couldn't find it, but we'll give it another chance. There is a modified trailer for water and milk in the animal husbandry menu, and the construction menu will find 2 object warehouses and a production for play and sports turf. The manure system has been installed on the PC copy of the map. Information about that area. Take care of your lawn at your house and sell nearby grass for profit. Holiday guests will definitely be happy about a homemade bread, sweet pastries, and delicious cheeses. So it's talking about some of the productions that are available on this map. An info silo and manure pallets. If your farm If your farm silo, even though it is entered in the menu as storage option on your farm, still does not allow you to store goods, then save once and restart the game and restart the server in multiplayer. The same would be the case with manure panels, I guess. And if this doesn't work, simply tear them off and reposition them. I think that means sell them and put them back down. There's a bit of translation problem going on here with this English listing. At the port, you can load your produced products into a container for shipping to the mainland. Note the harvester from the premium expansion DLC. We've got lots of harvesters in that DLC, but I'm guessing it means the only self-propelled harvester should not be used as errors may occur. Then after sleeping for the next day, the water plane is visually down, but the actual water plane is still up high, and it will slowly lower after about 30 minutes or so. So you will possibly get messages about your vehicle basically being in too deep of water, even though visually it doesn't appear that. Now, this map also does have several required mods. So let's go ahead and take a look at those in the mod selection screen. The required mods include the 50 kilowatt BGA, build your farm silo, the bunker silo set, the Kloss Dominator 108 SL Maxi, the garage barn or cow barn with garages. We also have the farmhouse pack, the farmhouse pack volume 2, flour production, Franconian farm buildings, half timbered barn, half timbered farm buildings. Of course, the map itself, old cowshed, placeable dairy farm package, and the VDI old sheep stable. So in addition to those required mods, we are going to be making use of the mods we typically use when we look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, straw harvest, and well, let's go ahead and take a look. I will tell you, if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will find that the farms are built out exactly how you see them here in new farm mode, with the exception you do not own any land, nor do you have any starting machinery in those alternate game modes. In addition, I did load this map up in a low-end system with integrated graphics, and I had zero issues whatsoever in maintaining a nice, steady 60 frames per second. So this map should play well for just about everyone, other than maybe someone on the most lowest of low systems. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. Now, this is basically an island map, or two islands. This is going to be, I believe, the island that is going to flood in October, and hopefully this will be the island that does not flood in October. This map does not have all the all the default crops that are available to us in FS22. In fact, we are missing cotton, sugarcane, and olives from this listing. We do have added, though, triticale, field grass, and rye. Then also, in addition, if you do have the premium expansion loaded, you will have your red beets, carrots, and parsnips. If we take a look at our farmland overview screen, you see you start up owning farmland ID 71. That is the main starting farm. That farm is going to have cows and chickens. In addition to the main starting farm, which can be bought for $188,000 in any alternate game mode, we also have farmland ID 72. Farmland ID 72 is a pig farm that can be bought for $212,000. We also have farmland ID 74. That can be bought for $229,000. That is a cow farm. We have an abandoned farm here at farmland ID 76. That is $115,000. We have a small farmland here at farmland ID 75. That can be bought for $0. And then lastly, we have farmland 73, which is going to be sheep, chicken, and bees. That can be bought for $162,000. Our main farm also up here does have a biogas plant pre-placed. There are some windmills located here, 67, 68, 69, and 70. You can buy that and sell the windmill, but the little powerhouse that is attached to the windmill, it will remain. So be careful if you want to buy these and get rid of those windmills because you want to expand farmland ID 5. Just note that there are going to be little buildings that are going to be stuck here at all 4 of those spots. Let's go and take a look at our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the viable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, and if those farmlands include any fields, what fields are included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? As we can see, the farmlands and field numbers are matching up 1 for 1, which is always a good thing to see. And then we move down here to the farmlands that are not associated with any fields. Take a look at our field calculator screen. This will show us the specific sizes of each particular field. We can go back to our farmland lease screen then and see what it's going to cost to buy any one particular field. This map is listed as using a custom soil map. So let's go ahead and see how that custom soil map is being applied to these fields. So it appears that this map is completely void of loamy sand. The island to the north is going to be a mix of sandy loam and silty clay and loam. Then the island to the south is again going to be a mix of silty clay, loam, and sandy loam. We do have a custom crop counter available to us here on this particular map. In addition, we do have growth schedules for triticale, field rice, field grass, and rye. If we take a look down through our prices screen, you will see that we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops, as well as we do have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, and our silage, hay, straw, and grass. In addition, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game production items as well. When in doubt, take it down to the 40-foot container sell point down at the port. With respect to bulk lime, we do have the ability to buy bulk lime, and we also do have the ability of getting rid of our stones. With respect to our additional crops, field grass, triticale, and rye, we do have multiple sell points for those, and we do have some other custom production points. This one I'm rather intrigued at. We have the price of bread that is from the day before, day-old bread. We have chocolate milk pallets, strawberry milk pallets, milk pallets, pallet with Keiko butter. We have play with sports lawn. And we have a box of sweets, box of bread, box of cheese. We have our washed vegetables from our farm production pack that can be sold down at the port. We also have the ability to sell all of the platinum expansion and premium expansion production items down at the port as well. So if you are wanting to get into a little bit of forestry production, we do have the ability of doing those. We do not have the ability also of selling our separated manure. So if you are playing with pumps and hoses, you will need to do something else with your separated manure, like spreading it on a field or putting your own sell point down. Then lastly, if you are playing with straw harvest, we do have the ability of getting rid of our hay and straw pellets. We start out with a modest list of starting machinery. It is all owned, none of it is leased, but we do have some parts and pieces that do need a bit of love and care as far as maintenance goes. We have 10 cows at the main starting farm, and then we have 20 chickens and a rooster also listed as being at the starting farm. We do have contracts available on this map. We do not own any production chains at the start, and we do have 10 collectibles. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the Fendt Vario 314 and the Fabric 515C small tractors. We've got the Kloss Dominator 108 SL Maxi Harvester. With the harvester, we have the C510 header, and we have the C510 header trailer. We've got the Welger DK 115 trailer set. We have a pair of those. Pottinger Servo 25 plow. The Torino 3FX cultivator. We have the Joker 4CT disc harrow. The Nordstein HK 25 NS 3030 seeder and power harrow combination. The Agromaz Falcon 3 planter. With the Hardy Mega 1200L 3-point hitch fertilize sprayer. So it's going to be for fertilizer and herbicide. The Amazon ZA TS 3200 fertilize spreader. We have the Brantner TA 1250 power spread plus manure spreader, as well as the Super Cease 800 slurry spreader. We've got the GM D4411 side mower and the GMD 3123F front mower. We have the Pajero Alpine Hit 4.4H tedder and the Top 342 windrower. The Massey Ferguson 1840 small baler. We have the XB 150 front loader arms. And for those front loader arms, we have a pallet fork, universal bucket, and manure fork. Then lastly, we wrap it all up with a 1,000 kilogram and 600 kilogram front weight. Let's go ahead and take a look at our mods and DLCs. You'll see that we do have a modified water trailer, as we had talked about it in the description, that is set up for water and milk. You can buy a large tote of silage additive, as well as a pallet of Keiko butter, and a pallet of day-old bread. Interesting. Interesting nonetheless. Now with that, before we get on to our farm tour, I do want to jump to a segment that I recorded earlier. Again, that is the water tide going up. Let's go ahead and see that kind of in fast forward time-lapse mode. Let's also go ahead and take a look at our build mode. Now we do have some custom buildings that are tied to the map. We have an old brick stable, bale and pallet storage for 250 bales and pallets. We have two different variants of that. And of course we do have lots of placeables that are tied to the required mods that are included on this map. We do have a few silo items that are also a part of this map. We've got a manure heap, bunker silo small, a couple silo extensions here. We do have a container that is going to be our pig food and mineral food storage. Then we have a sleep mat. Now, as far as production goes, I did go through this list earlier. We have a lawn production that is apparently going to make pig seed and make, I guess, the sport turf that we need. And then we have, as far as sell points go, just fairly standard sell points that are part of either the map or various DLCs. We do have the wind turbine. That looks like it's going to pay out a little bit more money compared to the standard in-game wind turbine. We do have a couple custom animals that are not simply mods that are listed as required mods, but are basically custom with the map. We have a 12 cow barn, as well as a 40 cow barn variant. We have a 75 pig variant. And then as far as ground textures go, fairly standard listing of ground textures with a few custom ground textures that we really haven't seen to date. Here we have one that looks like cobblestone. It's named asphalt. We've got some lattice work that again is named asphalt here, and some pavers that is also listed here as asphalt. And then fairly standard shrubbery and trees. Now our career start point is literally right here beside our starting farm. So on new farmer mode, this is our starting farm. We have fuel storage in here right by our harvester. In addition, we do start out with a fair number of big bags of lime, fertilizer, seed, chicken feed. Right next to that, we have our cow area with our 10 cows that we start out with. So we have our food trough there. We have our milk trigger. Over here at the street, we have our slurry point. Across the street, we have a water fill point. And this particular building is going to hold a total of 35 cows. We have our chicken coop. And the chicken coop is also associated with our silo area. So we have our dump and fill triggers here. And we're going to hold 360 chickens in total. Outside we have our egg spawn point and our food trigger for our chickens. We have a wardrobe trigger inside this little storage area. Then we have our sleep trigger. Now, I will tell you that we can pretty much sell everything here at the starting farm, with the exception of the biogas plant. So even if we own the biogas plant, we do not have the ability to sell the biogas plant. BGA is located right here. We can sell these silage bunkers. And then we have our interactive icon. We have our dump point for our slurry, our dump point for our digestate, our digester, and then we have our digestate fill trigger located right here. And that is pretty much the starting farm area. Now I've gone ahead and purchased the other farms. So let's just take a quick jump over to those and tour those as well. So this is going to be our farm at Farmland ID 72. It is the pig farm. So we have our sleep trigger. We're going to have our silo dump point here. And our silo fill trigger is going to be right next door. We're down here at the water's edge. You hear our seagulls quite substantially. Hopefully we won't get copyright flagged for sounds of seagulls. If you've been a member of the channel, you've probably heard me tell a story about that. That was quite the affair. So here we have our pigs. We have our milk and, not our milk, but our food and straw dump points. We have our slurry point, and then we have our pig drop-off point. Figure out where that trigger is at. Well, it took me a little bit of walking all over the place, but we finally found the sweet spot. 75 pigs in total. Going to be available here. We have a manure heap right next door. And that is pretty much the pig farm. Let's jump over here to the mainland. Then we have Farmland ID 73. This is going to be sheep and chickens. So we have our chicken pasture right here. 100 chickens in total. We have our food point. We'll have to see if we can't figure out where maybe the egg spawn point here is in a moment. We have a greenhouse. It is on this farm. I was kind of hoping the eggs would be within here. We have our sleep trigger. We do have a pressure washer. We have bees on this farm. So here we have our honey spawn point. Then we should have our sheep area. We have our food point. 140 total sheep. We have some of our beehives. Hope the sheep don't get stung. We have our wool spawn point. And that is pretty much this farm here. Then we have a farm located down here to the south. It is going to be a cow farm. At the entrance to this farm, we do have a hayloft. So we have our dump and fill points here for our hayloft. We also have this area integrated as part of a cow pasture. So we have our milk fill trigger. We have our food area. We have our water trough. And then our cow delivery point for 57 cows. We have our slurry point. We have mineral feed and seed storage. We have another cow area, so we have another slurry point. $12 cows available here with our food trough and then our milk build point. Slurry, milk for yet another cow area. We have our food trough. We have our manure heap. Two pull-through silage bunkers. Here we have our silo dump point, our silo fill point. We have a fuel trailer. Maintenance trigger. The activation icon should be inside of here. Then we are missing the animal icon here. So we have 40 pigs, so not 40 pigs, 40 cows in this facility. So let's go ahead and take a look at our animal food requirements. We've got fairly standard animal food requirements. Now remember, we've loaded up the standard version of this map. This map includes a second version that does have some enhanced animal requirements. I'm going to go ahead and load that map up right now and pull up the animal food overview for the variant map right now. So now we're looking at the animal food overview of the variant map. It doesn't look a lot different, but remember it was also described that your animals are going to need all of these food sources in order to maintain health. Whereas typically our animals, or most of our animals, are what I call cereal eaters, and that they will eat the best food possible. And if that's not available, they'll eat the second best. And if that's not available, they'll eat the third best. So for cows, you would feed total mixed rations. You're done because that's the best option. But in this variant version, they are what I call parallel eaters. Cows need total mixed ration, silage, and hay or grass. If you feed just one, well, they're going to be missing the other two. Sheep are going to need grass or silage, and hay or hay pellets, and lettuce or tomatoes in this alternate version of this map. Pigs are parallel eaters all along. So pig food is going to give you everything, all four food sources. Or you're going to need corn and sorghum, and wheat, barley, or bread from the day before, soybeans, canola, sunflowers, and silage, and potatoes, sugar beet, lettuce, tomatoes, carrots, parsnips, or red beets. Horses are going to need oats, sorghum, and hay grass or hay pellets, and bread from the day before, and carrots, parsnips, and red beets. Chickens are going to need wheat, barley, and oats, wheat, barley, or oats, one of the three, and triticale rice or sorghum, and grass and lettuce. So completely different animal food requirements for this alternate version of the map. Let's also take a look at the productions available on the map. We have the large greenhouse, which we saw is tied to one of the farms. We have the BGA, which is tied to the first starting farm, fairly standard greenhouse and fairly standard BGA. Flour mill, we have wheat, barley, oats, sorghum. It's going to make flour and pig food. Our bakery is going to take and make bread, cakes, boxes of sweets, and boxes of bread. Now, the bread recipe and the box bread recipe is the same, and the cake recipe and box of sweets is also the same. Then we have butter, cheese, boxes of cheese, which again is the same as cheese. We have chocolate, which is available down at the dairy, and the chocolate is going to require a pallet of cacao butter. And then we also have our chocolate milk, strawberry milk, and milk pallets. We have fabric and food clothing. So basically our spinnery and our tailor combined here. We have our oil mill, but it's only going to be for sunflowers and canola, because remember, olives have been stripped out of the map. We have our carpentry. So we have furniture, wood, wooden beams, and long wooden beams, long boards. And then we have clothing, which again is our tailor. So we have fabric, makes our clothes. Now these are some of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of these are the Platinum Expansion productions. I've got the Platinum Expansion activated. If you don't have the Platinum Expansion activated, then it's quite possible that you won't see wood beams or long planks listed here. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of altitude. Now we are over here on the main island. Let's take our way across over to the secondary island, which is where we start out at. And then this is the view that I had, or similar to the view I had when we did our time lapse earlier with the rising of the tide. So you kind of see where the tide is when we load in here. On our small island, as I mentioned over here, we have Farmland ID 5, which is Field 5, which has these 4 windmills. We can sell the windmills, but this little powerhouse is going to be permanently a part of the map. I was not able to sell that when I sold a couple of these windmills. We have our starting farm, which is located right here. And then we have the BGA, which is right next to it. I was able to sell the pull-through bunkers, but the BGA is not sellable as best as I could figure out. Over here we have our mill. And from our overview, we know that the mill is going to also produce pig food. So our dump point, interactive icon, our fill point for our pig food, and our pallet spawn point up here at the loading dock. On the southern side of the island, we have the second farm that we took a look at. This is going to be the pig farm. Now, while we can sell everything at the starting farm, including the deco items, I was not successful in selling a lot of the deco items here at the pig farm. So if you do want to customize the pig farm, do be aware that you will likely be stuck with those deco items. Here we have one of our locations where we can get rid of our stones. And then let's quickly make our way over the land bridge to the main island. And here at the main island, we have our fabric and clothing production. So we have our dump point, interactive icon, our wardrobe trigger, and our pallet spawn point. We have one of our sell points. Sorry, no, this is a dump point for the oil mill. Interactive icon and pallet spawn point. Over here, we have our animal dealer. We have a sell point. We have a buy point for fuel. We also have a buy point here for probably things like animal food. Dealer Jansen. So remember, that's where we could buy bulk lime. Might be able to buy other things. For our bale sell point, we have a couple electric charging stations. We have our dealer. Sell point for some sweets, some cheese. We have our dealer trigger. And we have our dealer buy point. So here we have our spawn point for our vehicles and machinery. I want to come back over here and just see where our trigger might be located. So our workshop trigger is inside of here. Here we have the door trigger, and then this other trigger is going to be our dealer trigger for maintenance, repair, buy, sell, trade, and etc. We got a restaurant sell point there. Carpentry, the interactive icon, dump point, wood cell trigger, and pallet spawn point. We have our dairy, interactive icon, dump point, pallet spawn point. We have our bakery, we have our dump point, pallet spawn point, and interactive point. Then we have our tailor. So we have our workshop, our wardrobe trigger, dump point, interactive point, and then our pallet spawn point around the back. So a lot going on here. This is going to be where our shipping container sell point is located. Pretty much everything is going to be available for sale inside this shipping container. So you're going to have to take it inside in order to sell it. I think this will give you an idea of where the water level will eventually rise to. Here we have a sell point for what looks like that fancy athletic turf. Grass sell point from FH. Then here we have a bunch of these holiday houses. So these are all houses you can buy, and you'll get some residual income as a result. They're all fairly expensive, between $85,000 and $136,000. As one might expect, closer you are to the water, but the more it's going to cost. Do have a sell point down here at this holiday area. Making our way across the southern part of this little island. Here we have the free farmland located here along this river. It's possible this river will flood, and that is maybe why this area is not overly desirable, and thus while it is free. So we do have a farmhouse trigger here. We've got this shed, which is usable, and then we have this garage. Now this garage is not sellable. You can sell the other items here at this area, including the trash, but this garage here is permanent. Over here is going to be the cow farm that we just took a look at. There are 2 pull-through bunkers or silos or 3 cow areas. We can sell everything there. Our abandoned farm is on the western side of this island. We're also able to sell everything here at the abandoned farm. And note that the abandoned farm is raised a little bit from the grass meadow that is around it. So if you do want to buy this and the meadow around it, you may want to do a little bit of leveling. And then we come around to the northern side of this island. This is going to be the sheep, chicken, and bee farm. I was, if I'm recalling, partially able to sell everything here at this farm as well. And we have our greenhouse, or not our greenhouse, our lighthouse. And that is pretty much this particular map. Now, I do want to talk to you a little bit about our scoring metric, because we didn't really get a chance to run through those as of yet. We are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, because we do have 9 productions built into this map. In addition, We are going to give the map a full point with respect to the ability to sell all of our base crops, production items, and animal outputs. So there's another full point there as well. Here in the middle of the island, we've got a school that is going to be a sell point. With respect to the farms being customizable, well, since we do have some issues in customizing the southern farm on the small island, and then we have a few issues with a couple other residual things at some of these other farms, we are going to be taking off a quarter point there. Settings where appropriate, we are using the new texturing technique, in my opinion. So we are going to be giving the map a full point there. Then lastly, trigger and interactive areas clearly marked. Well, we did have the area where we had some chickens, and we weren't really sure where the pallets were going to spawn because we didn't see a clear indicator marker there. I would like to maybe see a little better indicator markers at the shop for the maintenance trigger. While it is within the bay, it does not quite conform to the bay warning markers that exist there at the service point. So we're going to take a quarter of a point off there, and that's going to wrap this up. It's going to give this map a score of 4.5 out of 5. Still a very, very respectable score. I like the idea that we've got this movable water plane going on here. It's a very interesting idea that one or possibly both of these islands flood during the month of October, every day of October. So if you are playing with multiple days per month, then do plan for and expect that. That's kind of an interesting and neat idea. Not really sure how well it's going to work out if the visual water plane in the mornings is lower than the actual water plane. I think that might get a little bit confusing for some players. And again, I don't know how many players actually read through the descriptions before they go and start playing on the map. So I think the fact that we do have this raising and lowering water plane that is slowly happening, I think that is probably going to catch some players out. I hope they watch this video. I hope they see what's going on and hear what's going on, because I do think that would help them greatly. What do you all think down in the comments below? Let me know what you think of the map. What do you think of the rising and lowering water planes and other kind of cool and interesting features that this map has brought forward? And until next time, happy farming.